We're here.
Yes, we finally made it to the UK. It's not wine, actually.
It's Vimto.
It's Vimto. So we're going to just have a very quick video, not our
Very
usual
brief.
length one, because we're
Yeah.
still in the Airbnb and we still have lots of things to do. But we wanted to just update you that we have arrived. Monty has arrived. So we're going to do a quite short video this week. Stay tuned and we will go through our journey.
Yep. So this all began really 2 years ago, but it came to a focus point on the 23rd of June.
Yes.
That was zero
M-Day.
day.
M-Day, Monty Day.
Monty Day, because the travel company Starwood Travel came to collect Monty because he had to fly separate tours, obviously.
Right.
And they had to collect him from our former house in Charlotte, North Carolina, to Atlanta, where he flew from Atlanta
Yeah.
the day after
On British Airways.
on British Airways at the same time as us.
Yes. So we'll say that overall we are very pleased with Starwood.
Yeah. There were one or two things, but they were understandable.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was we were told that by the company, because Starwood organise everything, but they kind of get
it's like
third party.
subcontractor.
So the people that were coming to get Monty from Atlanta to have him down there so he was being held overnight while we finished up the house things. We were told that we would get like an hour's notice, didn't we? So an hour before they'd arrive, and that way we can time it well to get Monty in his crate.
Into the crate that we were going to use. But unfortunately, the lady who came to collect him, it was her first day, and she didn't let us know. Now, Monty, house cat, very nervous around other people, doorbell,
ran upstairs
and hid.
Now, he didn't hide because, fortunately for us, we had
sold
all of our furniture.
No furniture left, no bedrooms hide underneath.
But it was still a more traumatic start to his journey than we had hoped.
Yeah.
We wanted it to be a bit less daunting.
If we can contrast that with the week before, when another person from Starwood had collected him for his final USDA vet visit,
right?
We knew she was coming. We knew what time she was coming, and it was just a matter of picking him up while he was half asleep, and dropping him in his carry crate.
Yes,
and that was very straightforward.
That was very straightforward.
He didn't know what was happening, and
he recovered from that quite quickly.
Yes, he was even better than when we normally bring him back from the vets.
But long story short is he was picked up.
Yeah.
And then they were very good. Every step of the journey, I got text messages and they took pictures and they sent us pictures of him. So we saw him at his holding area in Atlanta where he was out of his crate and he had litter tray and blankets and all good stuff.
Yeah.
And then we got another alert that he was on his way to the airport, to British Airways holding area. Yeah. Another alert that he was on board.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, Monty, I think, arrived before we did.
Yeah, I think, was it 11:15?
Yeah, I think he got
the following day when he got in.
Yeah.
I know we were sat there in the lounge at Heathrow.
And as we speak, Monty is actually trying to lie on top of my freshly cleaned towels.
Yes.
For our new flat. He's found them and they're nice and warm still from the tumble dryer.
Soft and warm.
You might hear the tumble dryer in the background. We apologise.
Cat
but
magnet.
The Airbnb is quite a small contained unit, isn't it?
So that was his journey.
Yeah, and then, actually, we got the phone call that they were going to start the journey to deliver him to us here at the Airbnb from Heathrow.
Yeah, so we were, our flight from Heathrow was until, we got into Manchester at 3, so it was about 2 something in the afternoon.
Yeah, we were still just about getting the car hire, and we were in the car hire place when they rang, and we had a bit of a panic, but it took him 4 hours to get here and it took us 40 minutes. So that wasn't too bad. So Monty's journey, although a little of a rocky start, was pretty good.
Door to door, just like they promised, and he seems to have recovered since.
Yeah, that first, I mean, he was shell shocked, obviously, and a bit traumatized. But really, he found somewhere safe under a bed, or in fact, at this Airbnb, there's a gap under the sofa. He seems to like that.
He likes it, yeah. because
So
he's close proximity to us, but
yeah,
not that out of sight as well.
yeah. So he has, and we were. I mean, I was a bit worried. He didn't eat or drink for the first sort of 24 hours. He drank, but he didn't eat. Should I say?
Yeah, we could see the business end. Should we say the business end of things that he wasn't eating? But he's come around since then,
He's
hasn't
come
he?
round, yeah, and
Yeah.
definitely he feels more. I mean, the Airbnb, it's one of 4 units, so whenever there's a neighbour who goes into their front door, unfortunately the doors, if they don't do them properly, they bang,
Mm.
and that noise kind of, he makes him hide
Sets him
again.
off again, yeah.
But he's now on the sofa, so he's pretty chill
And it's
now.
looking like we'll be moving him into the flat tomorrow, won't we?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
fingers crossed how that goes.
So then our journey, well, that was a bit more traumatic, wasn't it?
The best laid plans of mice and men.
Yeah, we kept saying that next time we'll just sit in a crate and get somebody to deliver us door to door.
You see, as we'd explained in our early videos, we had all these grand plans because, Madam Point here had arranged for us to fly, well, the connecting flights first class
Yeah.
and the flight across the Atlantic business class, so we could get one of those lie flat seats so you could sleep on the journey.
And we chose a flight that over the Atlantic flight, we chose that to be the late one, left at 11
So
something. So we were sleeping in our natural rhythm.
Rhythms, yeah.
So we could wake up the next morning really kind of, as we would. So the time difference wouldn't seem so severe.
No. As we explained before, we were sending some boxes ahead of clothes, winter clothes, and things that we wouldn't need immediately, and those were collected on the Friday before.
With Send My Bag.
They were brilliant because they were in the UK at my cousin's house 2 days before we arrived.
Yes.
In fact, he keeps threatening to charge me rent for them, but that's another story.
I will go on here about the tour form because we had a bit of a panic because the first time I submitted it, they rejected it because I hadn't included on our tenancy agreement the final signature page
signed by the landlord.
Only had been signed by us. It hadn't been signed
by
the landlord.
If you don't remember, the TOR or TOR is a transfer of residence form, and basically that's there to stop. To explain
these customs.
It's a customs form to explain that these goods are yours and not for sale.
And you're not going to start. You're not. Yeah. That's essentially what it is. They just ask basic questions like, "Have you owned these for 12 months?
Are these your belongings?
And are you going to keep hold of them for 12 months until you arrive?" Now, part of it is obviously we had to mention the cat, and then on there they need the cat's health certificate, which is the thing that the USDA thing had. Now, because we had such a trauma, not my fault again, because with the tour form missing that last page, we actually sent our boxes without it being approved. We sent Monty. Well, Monty had to clear customs anyway.
Yeah.
And then the stuff that we had with us, we go through customs anyway, don't we, in our first point of entry. And frankly, I'm not saying you recommend this, but we did it all really without the tour form being approved. I mean, it was approved.
It came through
in transit. We were in transit.
Yeah.
But frankly, nothing was held up, was it?
No, they opened the boxes though, didn't they?
Yes.
I think they left one.
Yeah.
I think 4 of the 5 boxes were opened. But we had nothing to hide in there.
That's it. On the Send My Bag, you have to sort of declare an inventory, and that's put on the first box. We had 5 boxes in total, and that's put on the first box, and they were just checking that that's what we had.
One thing we have said is, with the benefit of hindsight, is if we'd known how good they were, we would have sent more via that method than rather struggle with 2 large suitcases and a little suitcase.
Yeah.
Each.
And that's probably a top tip there is because I did use points, I booked the flight from Charlotte up to JFK with points with American Airlines, and then I booked the rest of it with British Airways Avios points. Now they didn't talk to each other. They actually said, didn't they, when we arrived at the counter to check in, they said that it used to be that they could check the bags all the way through to our final destination because they're part of the same alliance, but they've stopped doing that now. So JFK was a bit of a pig because we had to claim our bags and go through customs, not customs, TSA again, didn't
Now,
we?
you're probably scratching your head and wondering, well, hang on, if you're going to London Heathrow, why fly to JFK? Because there's direct flights from Charlotte.
Yes.
But we had a plan. There was reasons for this. We wanted to use the fancy British Airways lounges at JFK.
Yeah.
It's an important journey, so we wanted to celebrate. Now, we used our Amex to get the Centurion Lounge in Charlotte, which was lovely, as per usual. Bumped into an old
Yeah, one of our students.
One of our students
was
who's working a summer job from uni.
Yeah.
That was great. We get to New York.
And what we were told...
We had to check our bag, collect our bags and check them in again.
And that was a bit of a pig,
Yeah.
but I will say we did have a 3 and a bit hour layover.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as if we were going to miss our flight.
Yeah. Well, some people were missing the flights because of what was happening in Iran. But anyway.
Sorry, carry on.
Because we were going business, we had a separate check-in.
Yes.
Which was nice.
Expedited, yes.
Because the guy there sorted out our bags for us.
Yes.
And we wouldn't have to touch them again until we get to Manchester. And then we thought, right, we'll go off to these fancy lounges now.
Yeah.
Now, the 2 BA ones...
Well, 3 BA ones.
No.
Okay.
Remember. There's the 2 BA ones were the ones that we tried to get into. That's the Soho and the... Greenwich. Now...
Well, there's 3. There's the Chelsea, but we knew we couldn't do the Chelsea because that's first class only.
Because that's first class only.
Yeah.
But one of them used to be the Admirals Club for American Airlines, because American Airlines and BA have this reciprocity thing.
Yeah.
Ooh, reciprocity.
And we had seen, I would say, 2 to 3 different videos on YouTube of people saying, if you're flying business class, you can get into the Soho Lounge.
Yes. But we were confronted by the person there who said, are you a gold member? Mm-hmm. And without reference to the Austin Powers film, I said, no, we're not. Oh, well, you're not allowed in here. If you're a standard tier member, you're not allowed in.
Yeah.
Which was not what we wanted to hear after that manhandling our bags.
True, yes.
Performance.
But then we could get in the Greenwich, and it actually turned out quite nice.
It was all right, wasn't it?
It was, and because we were there 11 o'clock
yeah.
Not initially 11 o'clock. We got in there about 9, didn't we?
Yeah, it's about 9 o'clock.
It wasn't that busy. We got in there, we got something to eat, we had a drink, used the restroom and all that.
Yeah.
Just calmed down a bit, charged our phones. It was a nice little break in it all, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't the worst lounge experience we've had at the time, was it? So
and
that was that. I just remembered something, of course, because we had to put our bags through again.
Mm-hmm.
We had to go through security again, didn't we?
Yeah.
And
it's weird because we went through security at Charlotte, and that was, I would say, pretty efficient. There was a queue, there was a line, but it was pretty efficient, I'd say, going through.
Which is usually par for the course there. We've got through there very quickly sometimes in the past.
JFK seemed to be an odd setup.
Oh, it was a madhouse. I think it was compounded by the fact that these flights to Doha and Dubai had been held up. So there was a crush of people who were trying to get through to their flights anyway.
Yeah.
But it was crazy. But then when we got to Heathrow, was it Heathrow we went through?
Heathrow, to get onto Manchester. Yeah.
The difference between the US security checkpoint and the UK one, they were miles apart, weren't they?
So when we did the security, so when we landed in Heathrow, we that's our first stepping onto UK soil. So we did have to go through, even though it was an online
connecting
flight. Thank you. You have to go through customs, and that was dead simple. Get your passport out, you just scan it on this flap, and they open the door, and that's it. Boom, you walk straight through. Of course, we have UK passports, so that's what it was for us.
Yeah.
Then the security, don't have to take your shoes off, don't have to open your bag, don't have to take anything out. Just put it on the conveyor belt.
Put in the thing, put them in the conveyor belt.
Through the roop thing, the X-ray jobby. Because it's a vroom thing, isn't it?
I can't remember. Did we take our shoes off?
Didn't take our shoes off. No, you didn't even take your bag. I mean, they literally say, don't take anything out.
keep
Don't
your
take
belt
anything
on.
out. And we just
Completely
walked through.
different.
So that was, so we thought it was going to be a nightmare, but actually it was brilliant.
Yeah.
And then at Heathrow, we came across another thing that we were told was going to work that didn't work. And that was our gift gaff SIM cards.
So when we bought our most recent US smartphones, we were changing from AT&T
Yeah.
to Mint, and some advice somewhere said get an unlocked one, but you had to get an unlocked one to change
To change the
the
carrier
provider anyway.
Yeah.
And then looking at all the expat forums, oh yes, all you need is a dual SIM, and you can put your UK SIM card in there. And so we were looking at the ones that you bought some from Gift Gaff, didn't you?
Well, I didn't buy them; they were free.
Oh, they
just
were free.
ordered them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we held back, didn't we, till we were on UK soil before we put them in the phones. And it was a difficult process, and we didn't really understand why.
No.
We thought it should have been a lot
pretty
easier.
straightforward, yeah.
But a little bit of research after that that we'd not encountered before is that the phones are region locked.
Yeah, so they're unlocked for another US provider.
Yeah.
But not for a UK provider.
Yes, or any other country. This can be done, apparently, but it was an expense that we didn't want to step into at that point.
Yeah.
So one of the first things we did was buy a cheap little Nokia from Tesco's.
Well, I mean, when we were in the airport, we still needed to get on the Wi-Fi because we were getting updates about Monty.
Yeah.
So Mint were very good. They do a Mint International pass.
Yeah.
You can just get that. You just text, don't you? You can do it through a text. We didn't have to get on the Wi-Fi at Heathrow to do that. You just send it. They just recognise that you're in a different country, and then they say, "Do you need an international pass?" So we got a 60-day one initially, just for that 24-hour period.
And of course, that covered
And
you for other.
But we're going to talk about phones in a bit more detail. I think it's just for this
we're
video.
Rambling now, but
we're just going to talk about our journey. Yeah, we're tired. We've been working really hard to get everything ready. Going back to our little transatlantic flight, this is business, and this was our first time being proper business when you have the lie flat seats and you're in your little booth and you can close the door, and
it was very
really good.
It was very good.
It was very good.
Yeah.
They offered you food. Like, you could have had a 3-course meal if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But we were very tired. I think I just had some fruit, and you had a bit
I
of a
had
starter.
smoked salmon and a nice single malt whiskey
to help you
as well.
sleep.
I thought it'd help me sleep.
We used our own earplugs. They do give you earplugs, but we have these silicone ones that you can shape a bit better into your ears. I have quite small ear holes, just in case you were interested. And those other ones, the little foamy ones, they don't really fit in there and stay in there.
We were too tired to watch a movie or anything like that.
I mean, it would have been. We'll have to do it again.
The entertainment system looks really. We had a look at it, but we were just shattered.
So I think we'll do it again, but we would recommend, because we managed to get some sleep. It wasn't. I wouldn't say that. The only problem is that we had a massive headwind with the jet stream, so we actually got in at, probably 45 minutes earlier, because he had to circle a bit, didn't he, before he could land. So I was there going, can we not just not, and let's have another hour's sleep, please? But we managed to get some sleep. It was proper sleep.
We didn't get jet lag. I didn't get jet lag.
No, well, I did.
Yeah.
I will whenever the first night here, even though we were shattered, absolutely shattered.
Oh yeah,
my brain just went a whirring with all the things that we had to do. Yeah. So I'm in the middle, and he's snoring away.
It just goes to show how the simple mind can just switch off.
And I'm there with my phone, ordering a ton of stuff, mattresses and whatever else, from Amazon. And I will say again, we will talk about this in a further video, but. It's not like I want to give Bezos our money, but Amazon have been a very helpful friend.
A bit of a lifeline, yeah.
So
but there's more about that later in another video, because unique circumstances, etc., which we'll talk about later.
Then the last leg of our journey, getting to Manchester, getting our bags, we had the most help there, I think, with our
Yeah.
bags.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
But the last little snafu, it wasn't a major snafu, but we got to the car rental
Well, first
place.
we have to give a shout out to the lady who drove the bus.
Yes.
There was a lady who drove the bus from Manchester Airport to the car hire village. It's like a 10-minute shuttle bus that runs round. She was so helpful when she saw us struggling with all those bags. She stepped in and helped us load them onto the bus, and at the other end, she found a cart for us to push them into the.
Yeah, she was really good.
So she was really, and I didn't get a name, and it's annoyed me. And if you ever see this, thank you very much.
Yes.
So we had to wait for our car because we messed up.
For some reason, I don't know why. The car, when I booked the car, I knew we were landing at 3, so I don't know why it was booked for noon. And then they said, "Oh, the car's not available." And we're like, "Well, for how long?" And then they said probably 20 minutes. We're like, "Okay, well, you can wait 20 minutes."
Yeah, 10 minutes.
This is after my phone call about Monty.
10 minutes later.
But it was only 10 minutes later, and it turned out the other snafu was that we went with National because, again, with the Platinum, Amex Platinum, you're supposed to get Emerald status, which means that your second driver is for free and you get free upgrades and all of this. But apparently that didn't all go through properly when I booked it. So Paul ended up being the only driver. But it turned out that we got a car that was exactly the car that we had.
Yeah, we got a Ford. They gave us a Ford Cougar, and we drove a Ford Escape in the US, which we knew would fit all our suitcases, which was a nice stroke of luck.
So, after the end of a long journey, yes, it was nice to know that for Paul, that it's exactly the car that he was driving in America.
The one that had practiced the suitcases.
And all it was the steering wheel was on the other side, and you had to drive on the other side of the road. And you knew the way to this Airbnb, and getting into the Airbnb was pretty straightforward, wasn't it? And it is nice. It has suited us for what we needed.
Yeah, absolutely.
We did have to extend it. We'll talk about that again in further videos, but that's it really. We managed to get here. There were a few hiccups along the way, and we were tired, but we're happy that we're here.
Yeah.
And obviously we're going to have many more videos to follow.
But this is just to keep you up to date to where we are.
Yes, right, and to thank you for your support. There was a moment, a little funny side here, is that
quick one.
I know we were on the plane going from American Airlines from Charlotte up to JFK, and the cabin crew lady that was serving the first class passengers looked at us and she says, "You look really familiar to me. Have you been on this journey before?" And this one here straight away goes, "We have a YouTube channel. Maybe it's from that."
Hey.
And then there's me going, "We're not that popular yet."
What's wrong with a bit of blatant self-promotion?
Anyway, so I don't think it was from that. I just think we had...
That's all a child was.
I don't know. It could be something. So we appreciate all your support, and hopefully, like I said, you'll stick with us. The next coming videos, we're going to talk a lot more detail about how we settled here, banking, phones,
advice if you're considering
internet, everything,
moving from the US to somewhere else.
Yes. So unfortunately, it's not our tea mugs; it's our Vimto for right now because our mugs are still to be unpacked.
Yeah.
But we will be with you next time with proper tea and some British biscuits.
Yes. Take care.
Cheers for now.
And bye for now. Bye.